Hello, this is Buy It, Build It, Fix It. I am Joni, and I am going to be doing a 3-part series called Back to Education. Now, with this series, I'll be discussing how to be frugal and on a budget, going back to campus, and also going back to school. So, if this is something you're interested in, stay tuned. So first, I want to address going back to campus. When you're going back to campus, there are several things that you need to do, especially if you're trying to stay on a budget. All right, so the first thing that you need to do is assess your needs. Within assessing needs, there are several things that we're going to focus on. The first one is your room needs. You need to look at the furniture that you may or may not need. Now, if you're in a dorm or a college apartment, they already give you everything that you need as far as the larger furniture pieces, so you wouldn't have to worry about a bed, you wouldn't have to worry about getting a desk, you wouldn't have to worry about the wardrobe or even a dresser, depending on what all they do provide. If you are in a traditional home or a regular apartment, you may need to purchase more furniture. So sometimes you can get away with it if you are renting a traditional home, because that might be a home that is rented specifically to college students. So they may have the bedding in there, but make sure that you know about that. One more thing, when you make sure you assess the furniture needs, you may also need to get furniture for the living space for everyone, the common area for everyone, if you are in a traditional apartment or if you are also in a traditional home. Next, you need to assess your storage space. If you're in a room or if you are in a college apartment, you may want to think about, where can I put my clothes? That is a very important question that needs to be answered. The rooms are super small, right? So if with them being small, you have to become creative. That may mean buying more storage solutions, storage containers. Maybe you need to get bed risers so that you can lift your bed to utilize the space underneath. But you will have to be very creative in how you're going to use your space for storage. Another thing to consider while you're assessing what you have in your home is whether or not the roommate you may have wants to coordinate with you. Sometimes roommates do things and they have the same colors, that sometimes they don't. When I first went to college, that was not the case. And I'm thankful, because while Elmo is funny, I am so glad I did not have to coordinate with one of my roommates with Elmo. All right, so you have to think about those things. If you have those things around the house, then that's great. That means that's less that you have to purchase. But if not, then that's something else to consider as well. Also, if you are by yourself in your room, you can decide what you want to do. So that makes it a lot easier as far as purchasing items. If you're moving into a dorm room or if you have the college apartment, then the larger pieces are already given to you, but your bedding is what's going to be important. You want to make sure that you have twin XL bedding. If you already have that, you're ahead of the game. But if not, that is something else you have to consider. Also, you want to assess what you have for the bathroom. Now, if you're like me, I like to purchase things in bulk. So if you already have 10 pieces of soap, then you don't need to go and buy anything else or add that to your budget, because you already have it. But you have to think about whether or not you'll have access to go to the grocery store often, whether or not you'll have access to order online if that's what you do, or to have your stuff delivered. So those are some things to consider when you're thinking about your bedding and also things that you need to carry to the bath. The next category to assess is your class or study essentials. Do you need a laptop? Do you need a tablet? Do you already have those things? Or do you have a printer? Do you have access to a printer? Will you be able to have access to the printer once you're on campus? Do you need flash drives or an external hard drive to hold all of your documents? So those are some things to consider, because some of those items that I mentioned are big ticket items. Next is school supplies. With your school supplies, will you need a backpack or book bag? Will you need a 3-ring binder or several 3-ring binders, spiral notebooks, the notepads, post-it notes, pens, pencils, markers, highlighters, all of those things. Consider how you're studying now. More than likely those habits will continue, or you may gain some extra habits, some better habits once you get to college. And if you already have some of these essentials like the pens and the pencils, the highlighters, you may not need to go and buy those things. So assess that as well. Finally, books. Sometimes professors want you to get additional materials that you can order or that you may have to go to the bookstore for. So consider that as well. Do you want to get everything from the bookstore, or are you able to get some of those items online? So consider that as well. All right, so the final category of assessments include the miscellaneous, or what I call extras. First thing, grocery store. What kind of non-perishable items are you able to get your hands on? Do you have those things in your kitchen at home? If not, then you may need to include that in your budget as well. Also, you may have a meal plan. So if you have that meal plan, take advantage of having it, because you may need to eat every meal that you can. Again, I think about my time on campus. Every time I could get to that caf, I was in the caf, I was eating. Also, I had my non-perishables in my room. I was always trying to eat. It probably didn't look like it, but I was always trying to eat. I was always hungry. Or when you're in college, you focus on your studies and you just get hungry a lot, all right? So that's just the reality of it. Also, a part of the extras, you want to consider your registration fees or any kind of additional fees to lock in your spot at the school, or to lock in your spot. Maybe you need a car. If you're taking, maybe you need a car registration, not need a car. But if you have a car that you need to register, that might be something else that you need to pay for. So think about those miscellaneous expenses. If you already, by now, most people have already paid their registration fees for their room if they're on campus. Again, if you're off campus, you probably need to put a deposit down, something of that nature. But think about those types of fees. Finally, under the miscellaneous category, think about the money that you may want to use for organizations, to join different organizations. There are some organizations that will be free, but again, look into those things, do your research, and you'll find what you'll need money for, and there'll be a range of the amount of money that you may need. Woo, child. We finally made it through the assessment part, figuring out what you need and what you don't need. So here we are. Now we're able to go ahead and create our budget. Now, with that budget that you started to create, you may want to consider whether or not you'll be using those gift cards as part of your budget. You may not want to use that. Sometimes people have already gifted you things, so if they've already gifted those to you, you don't have to worry about that either. Or maybe they gave you some cash, some money, whatever. If you're a recent high school grad, you have the cash or money, or even when you're not a recent high school grad, people just think about you and they just hand you some cash. Think about where you want to put that in your budget, or if you want to consider that at all. When we create the budget, we want to make sure that the budget is based on some of the categories that I mentioned before. Now, if you have some additional categories, go ahead and make sure you plan those out. So just as a recap, here are the categories. So you want to think about your room, whether or not you need furniture, storage space, bedding and bathroom needs. That's one category. Next, you have your class and study essentials. So remember, we have our electronics. We're also going to be looking at the school supplies that we need. And then finally, the books that we may or may not need, or additional reading materials that we may need for those classes. Finally is miscellaneous. So again, under miscellaneous, consider the following: grocery, registrations, and also money for different organizations. Now that you've created your budget, you know how much you want to spend, you've considered all of your categories, you've listed everything out. The next thing is to do a price comparison. Look at various stores, consider your brick and mortar stores, and also look at places that are online. So when we say brick and mortar, we're talking about Walmart, Target, Big Lots. Don't sleep on Big Lots. Home Goods, TJ Maxx, Marshalls, they all kind of go together. That you would go into maybe a Ross or something like that. So discount stores. Dollar Tree is another space that can be looked at. All right. Another thing you may want to consider as far as brick and mortar is concerned, your local Goodwill or a thrift shop. There's so many things you can find there. Now let's kind of shift over to your online stores. So some of the online stores to consider include Amazon, Temu, Overstock. But have you thought about Mercari or Poshmark, eBay? You may be able to find some things on those particular sites as well. Those are some places to get some things that are secondhand, or you may be able to find some things that are brand new. Mercari also does like a delivery. If you're in town and there's someone who's selling stuff, and you can do that as well. Try Facebook Marketplace. That's an online shopping situation to consider. You may be able to find some things at a deal or a bargain. Let me give you a little bit more information about Poshmark. Poshmark is an online selling community. It's almost like social media because you can like and share items in people's closets, or in other words, what they display online for you to purchase. Also, I will link below an opportunity for you to receive $10 off an item that you purchase. Now, I will say that I also get a $10 credit as well, but if you're shopping and you see something that you really like, why not use the $10 to help you with your budget that you've already created? Also, Poshmark has everything that you will need as far as clothes are concerned, electronics. They even sell electronics. They sell things for the home, beauty and wellness. They have all kinds of brands. So not only can you purchase items on Poshmark, you can sell items as well. So if you're interested in doing that, utilize that opportunity to sell some of your items while you're also buying items. And if you're selling the items, or if you've already sold the items, you can use the money that you receive from selling to purchase other items. So it's a win-win either way. Additionally, tax-free weekend. Now, as I'm filming this, some places are doing tax-free weekend. We haven't done it out here in Texas yet, but it's coming up. Consider tax-free weekend as an opportunity. Now, there are two things you need to consider with tax-free weekend. Sometimes whenever there's a major sale or a major weekend or event, some stores like to increase the price of their items to get people in, so that people are already thinking, well, I have to buy this, but I'm not going to be paying taxes. All right, so again, that goes back to our price comparison. Know what prices are before you go into those weekends like a tax-free weekend. And then the other thing is they may decrease prices to get you to come into the stores. So you have those types of things going on. That's also, again, your price comparison. So think about that. One more thing I want you to consider if you're thinking about shopping online. Some things online take a little bit longer to come in. For instance, Amazon, if you have the Amazon Prime membership, you can get things same day, right? Or the next day, or within 2 days. There are other online retailers, you may not get your items for another week or two. So it depends on the urgency in which you need those items. Amazon also has the Amazon Prime Student, and that allows the students to get 50% off Amazon Prime, and Prime students also sign up for free 2-day shipping. So I'll link that below as well. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this helpful, please give it a thumbs up. Also, if I missed any categories or anything, please make sure you list those below, because not only could that help me, but that can help other people as well. I look forward to seeing you in part 2 when I talk about going back to school for the grade level students and how you can budget for them. Until next time, talk to you later. Bye.